everybody, this is Curt Davis here in Memphis, Tennessee, and I thought today that I'd put together a video that explains how somebody may be able to purchase a large portfolio of single-family homes over time using very little or no money down. Now, the strategies that I'm going to be showing today are actual strategies that I've used, that I'm currently using myself. I'm still an active investor. I own 30 single-family homes as of right now, and when I started buying property for myself back in 2008, the same strategy has worked for me then that does now. Maybe a few things here and there have changed, but nevertheless, I did title this presentation, How I Purchased 30 Rental Homes with Little to No Money Down. So it doesn't have to be just 30 properties. It could be 10 properties. It could be 3 properties. It could be 60. Just my number right now is 30. That's how many properties my wife and I own. So nevertheless, let's get into it. All right, so just a brief little bit about me. I'm originally from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've lived in Memphis since 2007. I am a former hotel chef. I used to be a chef for 11 years before I got into real estate investing. Since I've moved here, I have been a full-time real estate investor, primarily doing turnkey sales. I am the sales and marketing director for Buy Memphis Now. We are a local turnkey investment company. We work with investors all over the country. I've been a licensed realtor for the past 9 years, and I'm married. I have 4 kids. I enjoy playing competitive foosball. I know, believe it or not, there actually is competitive foosball. And I enjoy classic cars and trucks. I like taking my truck to car shows. So that's just a little bit about me. All right, before you purchase, there's a few things that you need to do. You need to find a lender that you can get pre-approved with for financing who can do up to 10 conventional loans. Now, in this example, the way I did my purchases is I borrowed private money from a private lender, and then I did a refinance with a lender. So essentially, you're going to be doing refinances, or at least that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So aside from just trying to find a lender who can do 10 conventional loans, that's not too difficult these days. You want to find out what their seasoning period is if they have one. Some lenders do not have a seasoning period, which is the best. Some lenders have a 6 to 12 month seasoning period. That's not the lender that you want to find. You want to find somebody who's got 3 months or less. Just because, like I said, if you're borrowing private money, you're paying interest. So we want to keep the interest down. Let's see. And again, once you found the conventional lender who would do the takeout loan, you need to secure a private lender, contractor, property manager. The private lender is going to be the one making you the loan to cover your purchase and rehab. The contractor is going to do the renovations for you. You need property management in place. This purchase method for me has been I've been very hands-on through this purchase. I don't rely on someone else to do this for me. This is something that I know how to do myself. And hopefully, like I said, I'm going to show a basic example, and then I'm going to give you an actual example coming up here. So what is a no money down purchase example? I'm going to try to explain this as easily as I can. Hopefully I don't lose anybody. All right, so in this simple example, say a property comes across my desk and I'm contemplating, can I buy this for myself? In this example, the after repair value or market value, appraised value of the home in this example is $100,000. Now, I am only going to borrow a maximum of 70% of the loan to value. So in this example, I can get $70,000. Now, when you do a refinance, if you own 4 or less properties, you can refinance at 75%. I borrow 70% because I want to keep a 5% cushion so that if all goes according to plan, I can typically cover my refinance cost into my refinance. So in this example, I've got $70,000 now to cover the purchase of the home, the rehab, closing fees, lender fees, loan origination fees, insurance, that type of example. So if I've got $70,000 here, I'm buying the home for $50,000. It requires $15,000 in rehab, and the other $5,000 where I have closing fees, that's closing attorney fees, taxes, insurance, private lender, loan origination fees of that sort. So Looking at this example here, you add up all the numbers. In a perfect world here, we just purchased a home, no money down. So now you've closed on the home and you've started the refinance. Once you close on that home, you want to start getting with your conventional lender to get the refinance process started. If done right, you can be in and out of these properties from the time you close on this to the refinance within 2.5 months on average. That's a good time frame. All right, so we purchased this property 0 down. We're going to come to the refinance column here. Now I'm going, like I said, if you have less than 4 homes, now keep in mind your primary residence, if you own a home, that's considered one mortgage. If this is your investment, if this is your first investment property, this is considered number 2. So 4 or less, you can refinance at 75%. If you are at 5 to 10 properties, you would want to lower your borrowed percentage to 65% and refinance at 70%. In this example, the home does appraise for $100,000. There is an estimated $5,000 in refinance cost. If this home in this example does appraise for $100,000 minimum, the refinance fees will be covered in the refinance of the loan, so you wouldn't have to bring any money to the closing. Now, if your refinance costs, for example, were $6,000, then you would have to bring $1,000 to the closing table. A lot of people, what they'll do is when they refinance these, they'll put them on a 30-year loan. It provides the best possible outcome for the highest cash flow. I myself, I put a lot of mine on 15-year loans. Obviously, the cash flow is a lot of times cut in half, but my goal may be different than yours. I want to pay these properties off. And you see here, your gross monthly cash flow will be anywhere from $150 a month to $350 a month, just depending on whether you do a 15 or 30-year loan and based on what the home rents out for. So hopefully this portion of the presentation wasn't too confusing, but we're going to move on to an actual example. Now, this little property here that you see, I purchased this home within the last few years. Nice little 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom brick home, kind of in the eastern part of Memphis here. So I'm actually going to display all the numbers here. So when I saw this property, I did exactly like what I kind of explained in the slide before. I looked at what the after repair value was, or what I thought the appraised value would be, which I determined at the time $90,000. So you can see $58,500 was the maximum loan amount that I would have been able to get for this property. Now that's 65% just because I own more than, at this time when I purchased the property, the max refinance that I could do is 70%, so I borrow 65%. So $58,500 is what was allotted to me from my private lender to cover the purchase of the home, which was $36,000, $1,170 in loan origination fees, $1,200 in closing fees, and the rehab was actually pretty sizable on this one, right around a $20,000 renovation. In this example, I was able to purchase this property with 0 down. Now, when I went to do my refinance at 70% of the after repair value of $90,000, my loan in place then would have been for $63,000. The estimated $4,500 and the refinance cost is included in that. That's obviously the difference between my new loan and what my private loan was. This house actually rented out very, very fast for me. It rented out for $895 a month. I was actually estimating that I thought it would rent out somewhere around maybe the $850, $875 range, but the management company was able to get it rented out very quickly for $895. I think they rented it out in less than 7 days. Now the cash flow on this one, because like I said, I do 15-year loans, the cash flow does not look great. It's $155 a month in cash flow. That's after paying my mortgage and management expenses. If I would have put this on a 30-year loan, yes, I'd make about $312 a month. But like I said, I want my strategy is different than a lot of people's. What was my actual out-of-pocket expense on this property? Well, I had to pay $400 for the appraisal, and I had to pay roughly 2 months of interest-only payments to my private lender for $1,170. So, I mean, I was, let's just call it $1,600 out of pocket to purchase this property. And this is this example, this is how I purchase all of my property. This is how I've been able to do it for 30 properties. Essentially, there is just a little bit of expense out of pocket on these typically, but it sure beats having to do 20 to 25% down plus closing costs on every property. That would get up there. So what's my strategy? Well, it's kind of funny. When I started buying property in 2008, I didn't really have a strategy. I just wanted to buy property because that's what everybody was doing and that's what I wanted to do. My strategy kind of morphed into what it is now, in which I'm going to kind of give you an example here. So essentially, I purchased 10 homes, and most of my 10 homes were on 30-year loans. That's just what everybody did. I didn't ever think of a 15-year loan. So I purchased my homes individually. So my wife at the time worked, and I'm working, but we qualified for financing individually. So while I was buying property, my wife was purchasing property. She wanted to put all of hers on 15-year loans, which I'm not sure why we didn't think of that sooner, or why didn't I think of that sooner. Excuse me. So with the strategy I showed you with little to no money down, this is how we accumulated 20 homes pretty quickly. When I say pretty quickly, I mean like 6-7 years. So now the question is we can't technically get the standard conventional loans anymore because we were tapped out. So my wife and I did have an LLC that we were running a lot of our rental income through. So what we did was, using our LLC, I found a local bank who would make loans to our LLC. We can actually purchase the homes in our LLC and get financing for them. Now, a lot of times when you find financing that's not your typical conventional, you may have to put more money down, or you're not going to typically get 30-year loans. Even 20-year loans are hard to get. 15 to 20 years is typically what it's going to be. Well, I found a lender who would still let me do my purchase and refinance method. They don't have a seasoning requirement. So as long as I made sure that what I needed to happen was going to happen and they'd do the loans, we kept purchasing, and we bought several more properties using the little to no money down strategy, buying homes through our LLC. So what's been exciting about all this is, keep in mind, when I started buying property back in 2008, 2009, interest rates were high at the time. They were 6 3/4, low 6s. They were starting to come down because the market was crashing, but interest rates were improving. But what I actually started doing also is those high interest loans I had on those first properties, started refinancing those properties out of my personal name and refinancing them into my wife and I's LLC. And the exciting part about that is that technically now frees up mortgage spots available that I could, if I wanted, go back to getting 30-year loans through a conventional lender. Now, I won't do a 30-year loan just because I like the 15-year loans. I'll still continue to buy, but I have that option. So it's been pretty exciting, getting the right lenders and being able to purchase like this has just been absolutely incredible. So what does my actual portfolio look like today? Like I said, I started buying my first properties towards the end of 2008, and I recently purchased my 30th property in the last 30 days or so. But my portfolio, I have close to $4 million in market value. In a perfect world, if I sold all my properties today at what the market value was, I'd sell them for close to $4 million. I currently have a little over $1.7 million in equity. In a perfect world, if all my properties were rented out and the cash flow was coming in, I'd make $32,000 a month in gross total monthly income. That's before any expenses. And what's exciting about that is I try to look at this from a standpoint that, for my investing strategy, my rental properties are it. I don't have 401k, IRAs, things like that. So I try to look at this number. If I didn't continue to buy any more property, if I stopped today and rents did not increase over time, and all my properties were paid off, this would be some great monthly income coming in. Of course, you would have to deduct for taxes and insurance and management fees, and there would be expense repairs and vacancy and things like that. But still, that's great income coming in. As of right now, I do make about $7,000 in gross income after I've paid the mortgages and management fees, and of course, assuming there's no maintenance or repairs, which we all know how that goes. And as of right now, 25 of the homes that we own are on 15-year loans. 4 of them are still on 30-year loans, and we actually have one house that's paid off. So I know this kind of presentation has focused a lot of attention around my personal portfolio. I wanted to be transparent in this presentation to show you exactly what I'm doing, but hopefully you can kind of look at this and maybe get an idea on how you could build a portfolio, regardless whether it's you're buying your first or 10th or 50th property or whatever. It's a great purchase method, and if it's something that you can do in your market, that's fantastic. I don't want to say it's difficult to do out of market, but this is how I buy my properties.